dude, the thing is, the real winner of this demo from ChatGPT are the AI newsletters. All right, those are the real winners. Because I can tell you right now, as someone that has done zero coding but has a co-founder that has done this API for all these AI products, we know what people use our app for. Like, it is none of these crazy like features you think about. It is literally like, edit this for me, reword this for me. It's like, it's the nitty gritty of your daily life that you use it for, right? And until this thing is automatic, until everything that Jack said about take a picture of my fridge, here's the thing, and you can trust it's gonna give you a recipe that isn't like poison. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that is still so far away from happening.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got the gang here, Trung Phan, Jack Butcher, Bilal Zaidi. What's going on, boys? Busy week. We got a lot to talk about this week. What's going on?
There's so many things. Why don't you tee the listeners up about what we're talking about? Because before we talk about what we're talking about, we're going to talk about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, because that shit is so true.
That's why you had to go to San Francisco, it looks like.
Yeah, look, man, listeners, I'm recording right above the Golden Gate Bridge right now. You can tell. You're probably wondering how I did this setup. NIA is, we put some budget from a non-existent.
You're on a helicopter, and you're using the new Apple iPhone gimbal thing on the new iOS,
all right,
which we're going to get to later.
These news points, and then we'll talk about SAD.
All right, so we're going to be talking about ChatGPT adding vision and voice. There's some really interesting demos that have just come out there. We're going to share that. Spotify is also doing local language podcasts using AI. So if you don't like NI in English, you might like it in Spanish or Urdu. That's coming soon. And then we've got the end of the writer strikes, Netflix retiring DVDs, if we want to get to that.
Oh, yeah, we should do this together.
We'll round that out with an Apple durability test and what's going on with the new iPhone.
Dude, this is like a news, man. Well, people talk about summer's over, right? News dump, left, right, and center now.
Yeah, this is like old school NIA vibe. This is edge of the internet up top, but go on, yeah.
So before we talk about seasonal affective disorder, do you guys know what anal print is in Spanish? What's cup chair in Spanish? Can we run that through?
Can you imagine? Well, when people see the demo for what the AI language thing's going to be, you got to understand the joke. But can you imagine trying to translate that? That is insane.
Yo, hit it.
There we go, Jack. Impression anal.
For the listeners,
oh god,
anal print per Google Translate. So this is the word. Is impression anal.
I like you put the accent on it there as well. Cuck chair is silla cornuda.
Dude, silla cornuda sounds like a cuck chair. That sounds like something that a husband involved in some whatever. The cornuda,
some silla cornuda life, yeah.
All right, so
that's it. That's the t-shirt. That's the cuck chair, but we can add it in Spanish so people understand. There we go.
All right, Bilal,
go on, Trung.
Before we started this episode, you had mentioned that the weather in New York was getting you down, gray.
Very gray. Felt like London, mate.
Talk me through it. Do you get seasonal affective disorder?
I don't know if it's literally, I don't know if that is just feeling a little down, but no, I have to say genuinely, like, you realize how much sun makes a difference. And I said as a joke, like, bro discovered sunshine as a joke, because obviously we all know sunshine is good for you, but it really makes a difference.
Clouds.
Bro discovered clouds. Yeah, exactly. But no, it is, because it's been like 3 days of this, and I'm like, man, you can't do the same walk outside. Just the same walk before. You're sunny, you're smiling, looking at trees. You can do anything in the sun. It feels good. I know our boy Tom Osman will appreciate that if he's still listening to this
Tom
right now.
Osman lives in the Mediterranean.
He moved to Spain to maximize the sunshine vibe. And I think it's a bigger question, though, all jokes aside. Like, we've talked about on the pod before, like in the AMAs, where you'd like to live and like stuff like that. And one of the biggest things, I think, long term, if you can get more sunshine, it makes a massive difference. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think Tom clocked it. I think the old grandmas who moved to Florida understood the task at hand. And I mean, it's actually going to get back to normal soon. So
dude, I got so much respect for Osman. Like that thread he put up.
Oh, yeah.
He understands it, man. It's just like, dude.
What's the thread for people that didn't see it? What was it?
He put up, he moved to, I believe, Mallorca. I hope I'm not doxing him. I think he made that public.
He said it.
Yeah, he said that,
if we did dox, sorry, Tom. But he's just like the quality of life. Just go, dude, this is why California, all right? California in the United States has a Mediterranean weather. It's the only place in North America.
Well, San Francisco a little gray too, to be fair. But
yeah,
still.
well, San Francisco gets gray, right? But this is where you go SoCal,
Southern California.
a little different story. So before I go off on seasonal affective disorder, which I believe is 100% a thing, I want Jack's thoughts on everything Bilal just said and his love for the sun.
As
and whether
a Brit
the sun,
too.
Yeah, and whether the sun was a consideration for you and Celia when you guys chose to go to Nashville. I don't know how much sun there is.
A little bit. I don't know if I always used to think New York had a lot of bright days, like even when it's freezing cold. Maybe it's just like proximity to the water or something that like the clouds move quickly there. But yeah, this down here is pretty good too. Like it's not like a London or a San Francisco where it's like a part of almost every day you have the gray thing. But when you do live in a place that has it regularly, when you get a couple of days of clouds, you start to feel
it.
Yeah, you start to get affected by it for sure. So it's a real phenomenon, man. It's a real ingredient in life, isn't it? The sun.
That's
we need
true.
the sun.
100%. Well, all I know is this. I went to Helsinki, and in the Starbucks, each table had one of those like UV blue those lights.
Oh yeah, you need that.
I'm like, if you guys got that, you know what's up. Starbucks knows what's up. They know that investment is increasing the dollar consumption of their products. So clearly, some smart ass economists at that company. So for me, that's all I knew. I know that shit's real. And I'm reading this book about Ernest Shackleton. Like he did the Antarctica, the famous thing where they were stuck in Antarctica for like 2 years. But there's a line in that book. It's like, there is nothing like the 24/7 darkness in Antarctica. Like it'll break. It will break anyone. Like most people will break after 2 days, like seeing no sun. And dude, I think we both all touched on it. And I live in Vancouver. So 9 months a year is rainy.
Yeah. I will say the other thing is... I
didn't realize Vancouver's, I guess it's like northeast vibe.
Northwest, Pacific Northwest.
But like my brother, I remember he used to do like night shifts back in the day. And just like you're literally waking up as it's dark and then you're going all day. It's crazy. Oh. Anyway, we can move on from that.
No, hold on. I think this is relevant material, people here.
That's why you're getting the time and a half, Bilal, the danger money for that stuff. Man.
That's true.
Breaking your...
Dude, Jack in the Honda factory life, night shift.
How many of you guys have worked with people in Manila, right? The Philippines.
Yeah.
Right? They have the entire economy built around people that work between midnight and 8 a.m. Do you know how bad that shit is for your health? Like not seeing the sun. They literally have an entire...
Huberman would not be impressed, right, Bilal?
No, Huberman. Every episode I've ever listened to.
Run to the sun. Yeah.
How many hours of sun did you get? He's like, wake up and just stare at the sun for 28 minutes.
I was looking at the sun. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, I will say, all jokes aside, some of the Huberman stuff is a little over the top. But yesterday, when I was feeling that little dip, I did go sweat it out in the sauna, and I don't do the ice bath shit that everyone has. Jack might have space for it in his backyard, but just doing a cold shower makes a difference.
Oh, let's give a shout out. Hold on, Jack. You want to give a shout out to the sauna?
Got the sauna.
We should give a shout out, but I don't know if I got the right details to give the shout out.
The sauna that I got sent to you.
We'll do it next. We'll do it 2 weeks from now.
I'll start the episode in the sauna next time.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let's definitely
give a tour. I'll do the features, benefits, all of that stuff.
SWOT analysis of the sauna.
Wait, well, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So the sauna works.
No, I was just saying, I mean, there's a famous Tony Robbins thing, which is like change your state, change your mind or whatever. You see him in the documentary jumping on the trampoline. And that actually, I mean, it looks stupid, but it works, man. And I had a guy, Ryan Beagleman, who's the founder of Summit Series, good dude. And we did a pod, and he was talking about how he would turn the light off in the shower and just put music on and rave it out. And that sounded ridiculous. But also, I've tried it. It works. You just got to put your favorite tracks on. Just pretend you're in the nightclub, just going wild. So get that grinding going on, Trunk.
My reaction is so negative to that it must work, though. That is so contrary to the social contract. I mean, that must work. But the last thing I'll say is this. We're talking about changing mindsets. Nothing changes your mindset like 3 scoops of C4 pre-workout. Oh my God.
Pre-pod.
Yeah,
that's your supplement line there, Trunk. It's pre-workout just for academic activities, for writing.
I've been seeing that everywhere now since you said that too. Like in the fridges, They put it in the fridge in the Target and stuff now.
Bro.
C4.
Incredible.
Next to a little can of Mountain Dew, you got the C4 there.
The Mountain Dew will probably fuck you up more than the C4 if we're being honest, man.
I don't know.
All right, boys, let's get to. Oh, sorry, go on, Jack.
I was just gonna look up the caffeine content of a C4.
All right,
I'll get back to you on it.
Yes, all right. I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and let's get to the agenda, boys. Let's get to Edge of the Internet vibes. Just old school NI listeners will know that's where a lot of the alpha was dropped from Jack. But I'm gonna pull up the AI thing here. So 1 second, let me just share my screen.
We're not dropping alpha on this AI wave, but you can subscribe to a SaaS product that I've built called BEARLY.ai.
There we go. All right. So can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. So Aaron Levy, legendary CEO at Box, internet legend also.
Let's just see. So this is an example of what is in the new ChatGPT, yeah?
Yeah. It can see and hear. All right, so there's a bicycle. It took a picture of the bicycle, and now you can ask ChatGPT about this image. So it's like, help me lower my seat.
This fucking music.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music is unnecessary.
But it explains to you how to lower the seat. So, Bilal, can you actually pause that right there? I have a comment about this.
Go on.
What idiot doesn't know how to lower the seat? Listen, bro.
I thought this was a really weak example, let's be honest.
If you can't lower your seat on a bicycle, you got bigger problems than, hey man, like AI is augmenting my life.
This is a very small Venn diagram, right?
Bro.
Somebody not using ChatGPT and can't do that. But you know what would have been a good example of this? I was thinking, imagine if you just, this is like the take a picture of your fridge and say, what can I make?
That'd be good. Yeah.
They mentioned that. Yeah, they mentioned that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So a couple of things that I want to point out is this is called multimodal. Multi means different types of inputs, obviously multiple, and modal means a type of input, image or like text.
So I almost spat out my tea there, man.
I'm making Bilal spit out his tea.
Also, what happened there? What is that?
I'm doing a little.
I didn't
Yeah,
want
you
to
do the
do
graphic
that.
draw. But
I didn't know you could do that.
so other than the example though, I want to get your first reactions. A truly useful assistant. So Bilal, who used to work for a small search engine company that has an assistant. First of all, the reason I'm bringing up Google Assistant is not to troll Bilal, but that too, that's secondary. Primarily, Bilal talked about Google Assistant past. Bilal, you used Google Assistant, right?
Oh, like a long time ago, yeah. But I think what they should really be the thing to compare it to now is Bard, I guess, because Bard is integrated with Google Search.
No, but I mean the point is that it's on your phone, right? This is supposed to be an assistant. It's like, so ChatGPT is basically saying, hey, check out this app, which is like your life assistant. If you can't lower your seat, A, like fix your life, but B, this is also how to do it. So
And so just so for people who didn't see the visual, there was a picture. Someone took a picture of the of their bike and said, how can I lower the bike seat? And then through the video, they're going to be asking more questions.
Yeah, it's conversational.
Conversational, yeah. So
it's supposed to be like the holy grail of these assistants.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm going. I'm about to ask you, Google Assistant, like, what do you think?
Well, Google Assistant compared to this is nothing, right? Like this, if this actually works, obviously this is a demo. Be interesting to see it in the field with lots of different use cases. But this is what Assistant should have been, right? Like this conversational thing. I think the only times I saw that work quite well was when you did stuff like it's tied to your calendar and your email and it knows you're going. Like, for example, I knew I was going to Midtown in Manhattan for a meeting at 1 p.m. and at 12 o'clock it would ping me and say there's traffic, you need to leave earlier or something like that. That was kind of an interesting use case.
That's quite assistant.
Yeah. And that was, you're using Geo, you're using Gmail, you're using Calendar. So that's quite an interesting example. But this is like really next level. It's like, if it works, you're going to speak to it back and forth. So yeah, very cool.
Well, here's what I bring up. The reason I'm bringing up Google Assistant, and we're going to get Jack's reaction shortly after this comment, is first of all, Google's releasing their own version of GPT-4, Gemini. It's coming out later this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be doing that. It's going to be integrated into the Android phones. And then who's the biggest beast of them all? You know, the iPhone is going to have this. Siri is the biggest running joke for the past decade.
Yeah.
But this is so easy for Apple to scoop, right?
They should be scooping because
Siri
is
the camera technology. Yeah, they have. It's a total dog, right? But they have the camera technology. They have the crazy chip inside the phone that can process this locally. Yeah. So my takeaway from this is incredible. Cool. I think first of all, the problem with this, I think we kind of Jack mentioned at the top is, first of all, this example is so anodyne. The first time you do this example and it gives you some shit response, you're done. You're never using that.
Stop using it. Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to stop using this use case. So this is my prediction. Apple will release this feature in 2 years. It's going to blow this out of the water. And people are going to try this. They're going to fail the first couple of times and just give up. Jack, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was a bad... all of these things, when the first iteration of it comes out, the people that make the best use of it are like the mega edge cases. Yeah. And I guess because they're trying to market it as a product for mass consumption, they use an example like that. But I think even majority of people would have this reaction to, like, watching that video would make you think this is dumb. You know, like,
well, Trung's reaction was person is dumb, but yeah, close.
No, I'm saying the Venn diagram of like person who wants to use ChatGPT and person who like, I need to move this thing and I'm not able to just look at what is connected to it and investigate.
Yeah. Look at the instructions, or because
the instructions
next part
aren't
of the
actually
video
even helping you do it, right? It's like, unless the thing is like coming out of the phone and adjusting the saddle, you're not really getting any. Yeah. Well, the image is not necessary in that one either. It's like, how do I adjust the saddle?
The thing is here, the next part of the video, he says like, I've got this tool, what do I use? And it's like, you don't need that, you need an Allen wrench or something like that. So I would say, like, for example, this next to me is this bed that comes down from the wall. It took me several weeks of work connecting the springs, and it was because it was in the middle of the pandemic. We couldn't get access to stuff, and it would have been cool to be like, this is what I've got, help me figure it out. But that was also because I'm stupid.
Either.
Yeah,
and
that's
it wouldn't have been able
true.
to do that. It was like some niche product. It's like a bike saddle is like, it can Google.
That's true.
99% of bike saddles have an Allen wrench and some kind of clamp.
Yeah.
Loosen it, move the saddle, and then tighten it.
Yeah, the helpful part is when it's actually completely custom, and most of the time it won't work for that. But
that's why I thought the thing would be cool.
No, but that's why it gets interesting, right? Like, here's what's funny about the Apple iPhone 15, which somehow we haven't talked about at all, is they have always on mode, right? Android had that 10 years ago. So Apple is taking their sweet time. You know what I mean? So Apple is gonna come through though so hard on this. But would you guys agree though? The thing is, the real winner of this demo from ChatGPT or the AI newsletters. All right, those MFs, those are the real winners. Because I can tell you right now, as someone that has done zero coding but has a co-founder that has done this API for all these AI products, we know what people use our app for. Like, it is none of these crazy like features you think about. It is literally like, edit this for me, reword this for me. It's like, it's the nitty gritty of your daily life that you use it for, right? And until this thing is automatic, until everything that Jack said about take a picture of my fridge, here's the thing, and you can trust it's going to give you a recipe that isn't like poison. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that is still so far away from happening.
And that's how I felt about, we talked about it with the Web3 stuff. The AI stuff is way further down the line than the Web3 stuff. But like we've always talked about, it's like the actual use cases that make your life better, make your life easier, make things faster, whatever. And yeah, I mean, like you said, this example is an interesting one, but it's not. Yeah, I think we need more examples, essentially. So yeah, definitely. Well, the only thing I'll say on the Apple thing, man, is if they lean into the ChatGPT capabilities and ChatGPT does an amazing job, which I'm sure they will, then yeah, but like if it's on Apple to make it a good search, essentially, they haven't got a good track record of that, because Siri shit, like the way their basic stuff that should be way better is terrible. So that's the only thing I'd say, is that it has to be tightly integrated. And the way Apple is, they don't always love taking other people's stuff. They kind of want to do their own stuff most of the time. So it will be interesting.
You're right. They have to do it internally. I think Google Maps is a great example. When Apple Maps came out a decade ago, it was shit. Google was infinitely better. But Apple's like, this is important because this is actually a huge use case for the phone that we don't want disintermediated from us, right? So they typically will not release a shittier product on their phone. They want the best of the best because they sell the hardware, right, to justify a markup. But they ate it. They released their shittier maps, and it took them like 5 years. But arguably, Apple
I
Maps.
remember you saying this last week, and I didn't want to go off a whole tangent saying that Apple Maps is better because I disagree.
It's it. Go cook.
No,
cook.
I mean that's it. Honestly, that is a. I said that to my girlfriend. She was like, "What?
Wait, you don't agree?
Serious?"
You don't think Apple Maps?
I actually don't love Google Maps nowadays because when they changed from there was like an old Maps I loved, it was the best, and then they changed to like this vector thing where it was smoother and you could zoom in and out more, and it was like 3D rendering, looked cool. But like there's weird things Google Maps does, like I'll search for coffee shop near me, and then it will zoom out of nowhere and show me the whole of the US. I'm like, what the hell does this?
You know who wouldn't do that?
Work?
Apple.
That's true. They figure it out, but they'll send you to Antarctica. You know,
bro. The 3D is a great. Let me just pin it with this. The 3D is a great analogy. 3D sounds cool.
Yeah. But
right?
I don't
You're
know
like,
what
oh my God, you
for.
3D rendered the city. The first time you look at it, it would demo great, right? It'd be 90-second clip on Twitter, people lose their mind. I've never used that 3D feature.
I think the only thing
flat.
Yeah, I agree. I don't use it for normal stuff, but I think the only time it's helpful is where they started creating these renders where you can basically be walking through like a place like that.
Right.
So it was using the rendering and using Street View. That was actually kind of cool, but that has only come out recently, I think. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, I think, because it's a related topic. This was Daniel Ek sharing a new thing on Spotify here. So 1 second, I'm going to share my screen. Anything else on that before I share this, boys?
Yeah, super last thing. The only one thing I'll say is like, if you do crack this use case, the way that kind of Jack mentioned it, like a true bike fixing experience. I mean, that's one of the greatest things about YouTube, right? It's the do-it-yourself stuff. Even though it's not specific to your thing, you can basically find the solution to anything on YouTube. And I think the unlock that YouTube did for education, it's people understand. It's like it's on par with the printing press, right? Like that tactile. I mean, how often have you guys
out yourself, yeah,
or like anything that's visual, right? All that knowledge that gets lost because people otherwise don't. When you read something, it means nothing, right? You see the visual, you get it immediately. That thing, that's the ultimate unlock of what ChatGPT is doing. Whether or not they deliver in a timely fashion before Google or Apple, I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like this is the same to Bilal's point about consumer use cases for crypto. It's the same thing. It's like trying to make the leap from the hobbyist to the normal person. And like you say, ChatGPT now is mostly used by technology obsessed AI newsletter writers, right? It's like this closed loop.
A very
help me summarize my AI newsletter, and then I'm gonna like help me
write my AI newsletter.
Yeah. Write it, summarize it for me, and then rewrite it to a summary.
Turn it into a Twitter thread. Yeah, the whole thing is run on AI. Incredible.
It's funny, man. And it, maybe in the same way, it's like when it's abstracted away, that's more likely to be the bigger use case for it when it's powering stuff versus it being the front end. Because if the usefulness of the product relies on the imagination of the consumer, you're buggered, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're buggered. All right. Talking of buggered, let's get on. That was a good way to sum that up, mate. Like it. I'm going to share Daniel X. Let's actually watch this video. It's only 27 seconds. 1 second. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
And Stephen Bartlett's crushing it, man.
Stephen Bartlett, your boy. Did you talk about
I did some illustrations for his book.
Who's Stephen Bartlett?
Sexy Millionaire.
Diary of a CEO. He has another company, that Web3 company, and he had an agency, Social Chain, I think,
him, man.
that did well. Yeah, he's got the #1 podcast in Europe, basically. So it's called Diary of a CEO.
Steven, put us on, bro. Come on, man. Pump us, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
All right, here we go. This is from Daniel Ek. Let's watch it. And listen if you're listening.
When you say the word toxicity, how are you defining that? You're saying like toxic chemicals que introducimos en nuestras vidas, en nuestra piel, consumimos, inhalamos.
It sounds like his accent too. That's mental, isn't it?
Y que están en nuestros alimentos, etc.
Exactly. Lex.
How do you think? O sea, a modo de consejo, ya que lo estamos platicando, a diario, ¿qué opinas sobre los problemas difíciles del mundo?
Well, anyway, so that's 27 seconds, but...
Stephen Bartlett, dude, you were talking about him. So quick primer for Stephen Bartlett was, Bilal had mentioned, big business guy in the UK, is my takeaway from what Bilal told me is this: he spent like $100K on the camera equipment. He's like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it right.
Oh yeah. He's the guy who went hard.
Blew up. Yeah.
Yeah. He did a great job of sharing that as well. I don't personally listen to the show that much, but it's a really big, massive show, and they do an amazing job. The production is like 10 out of 10, and then now they've gone from like CEOs to they've got like footballers and like people, big personalities.
Well,
and
Steven, let me ask you this: have you ever filmed in a helicopter above the Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah, have you done that, Stephen Bartlett? Yeah.
There we go. But what I'll say, there's a nice little message he posted after, where he basically responded to Daniel Ek and said, I realize this is not a use case you guys are solving for, but I promised my partner I would learn Spanish this year. Shout out to his Spanish-speaking partner this year, so I could speak to her parents who only speak Spanish, and they've never been able to listen to the podcast. Essentially, they're now listening to the podcast, and there's a screenshot of from his partner saying, "My mum listened to the pod yesterday. She loves it. My dad is watching." The classic dad and mum screenshot. I've done. Remember when I used to do those for Creator Lab, when my dad will be roasting people on the pod? That always works, man. Great engagement. But anyway,
I just followed Steven, by the way. Steven, if you're listening to this, on the infinitesimal chance you are, follow me back, brother. I got twice as many. I got twice as many Twitter follows as you. So you're in my river now, buddy. Yeah, you got the podcast game, but you coming up to Twitter, son? You coming to the X app? We in my arena now.
He's just starting beef with Stephen Bartley. Here we go. Well, I will say, I think our boy George used to work with him back in the day as well. I think he worked at his agency. That's probably where
viral boys
trade.
Yeah,
exactly. And he used to work with Sean Puri, friend of the pod as well. So
you got all
he's kind of been in there. Yeah, and Daniel Senra, our boy, just responded to this saying that is incredible.
David Senra, come on, brother.
Sorry, I've been using the wrong words.
Come on, man. Daniel Ekdin. Yo, David, man, sorry, bro. Yo, like, Rafa, can you edit it? Wait, can we use the
Spotify to change
it to David Senra?
But all jokes aside, boys, I mean, for people who've only heard that, you probably got it, but there's a video of the guys speaking English and they directly translate it to Spanish, and it sounds like them. Very, very good, very high quality. That was actually pretty impressive. I wonder what it would be like with us. Can you imagine doing it in? You speak Vietnamese, yeah? Can you speak Vietnamese?
Let me quote you what the cab driver in Vietnam told me. You speak Vietnamese like a white guy.
Yeah, exactly. My Urdu is
by the way,
same.
Maybe one good real world example for this. Didn't Mr. Beast hit this point, this like stagnation point or plateau where he's like, all right, we're gonna just have all of this stuff translated into the top 10 consumed languages on YouTube.
Yeah, dude. He didn't hit a plateau. He saturated every single English speaker in the world. He's like, every single person in the world that speaks English was already subscribed to his channel.
Well, that's a plateau. That's a different kind of plateau that we experienced.
So he's like, no, you're right. He went. This is the crazy thing what Mr. Beast did. We talked about it ad nauseum here. He spends every single dollar back into his YouTube videos. Just give me an example of how far this guy takes it. He went to Japan, found the #1 voice artist. The guy had done all the animes, and it was like, hey, dude, like, I love your anime stuff. Like, can you just do my stuff? They paid him probably God knows how much money, but made it all back, obviously. But he's exactly like Jack said, the next 10 languages. Which, wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's English, Spanish, it's probably Urdu's up there, Hindi, Japanese. The most monetizable, like Vietnamese has 100 million speakers. It's not super monetizable, right? And yeah, genius. But let me bring in. Go ahead, Jack.
No, you carry on. Finish your.
I was going to say business-wise. So let me put on my MBA hat and CFA. For people that don't know, I have a CFA.
Didn't pay the dues though.
Yeah, didn't pay the dues though. So I'm a lapsed member. But here goes Jack. Okay. So
Jack on his Jamie. Jack turned into Jamie.
I'm just putting context up there. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
No, great.
So Jack
helpful.
has the top 10 most spoken languages. Oh damn, Spanish is more than English. That makes sense. Latin America.
Yeah, but I think that's I always doubt some of
that's
these.
primary language. No,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
talking about what's the
This
lingua
is Google.
franca?
We can't trust this, boys.
Yeah,
That's true. Exactly. Yeah.
that's been game, man. Yo, that's from Babbel. I think that's a SaaS app. But no.
Isn't that crazy? Some SEO dude has got them to rank in the top of Google for that.
No,
to sell
I
SaaS
think
app?
by far, if you count the second language, it is English, because every major second language is English because it's a lingua franca of the world.
What would Michael Saylor say, Trung?
Yeah. Yo, Rafa, can you run the clip? We asked Michael Saylor
once a week. Run
May
the clip.
2022. We go, Michael, what is your advice for somebody that is coming up in the game? He goes, learn to speak English. You can sell your service for more. People are willing to pay more. Man, like truth, right?
It's true.
Although he took a shot of Swahili. People, I didn't agree with that.
Beautiful language.
Yeah, beautiful language.
First, you need a basic set of skills. The basic tools you need to get by in the modern world would be English, important, the ability to code, right? Some computer science, or be computer literate, be English literate, because anything you sell in the world will sell for a higher price in English. Anything you buy, you'll buy for a lower price in English. So it's a universal protocol.
But last thought, let me put on my CFA hat for Spotify. Listen, people, I'm wired. I took the pre-workout and I did 100 burpees before this fucking podcast.
100
I'm wired
burpees
right now. All right, so the NBA angle is this. What was Spotify's problem always with their music business model? We talked about this. They got to pay out 70% of that revenue in royalties. Like Bilal knows this. He knows the game. This is why they spend $1 billion on podcasts, right? They spend $1 billion on podcasts because they get to own that stuff. It's a lot, right? Like they spent $500 million on like Joe Rogan, The Ringer,
Call Her Daddy,
Alex Cooper. Those are licensed. I think Joe Rogan still owns his IP, but that gets subscribers in. But then they built these platforms like what is it about Anchor?
I think they maybe even acquired or they built that. I forgot.
They acquired Anchor, Megaphone. Let idiots like us like self-distribute on Spotify, and then they get.
No, we don't use
margin.
them, but some people do. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't use them, but
podcasting is the most decentralized media format that exists today, probably. Incredible.
Newsletters.
It's true.
I think newsletters first.
Up there too,
yeah. That's a good point on. It's kind of critical because a lot of people ask me about
podcasts.
There's no the discoverability,
on,
but it's also just like this podcast and Create Lab. They're listened to on like literally like more than 100 apps, and like maybe there's an 80-20 rule of everything where Apple or Spotify basically take up most of that, but there's literally, I mean, for me on Create Lab, there's literally one like called Castbox and like these Android apps, these random ones.
They're listening to it on and stuff.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Tune in radio back in the day as well, on the radio vibe.
XFM.
Sirius XM, exactly.
I'm getting 3 letters a week from those guys.
Wait,
Exactly.
what are the letters? What are the letters?
Sign up for Sirius XFM to like in the car or whatever. They just never ever take you off the list.
Yeah. They're
physical
just
mail.
Still works.
Wait, so the whole point is that Spotify is trying to increase the inventory of this content where they get to own and monetize way better, right? So like instead of giving up 70% to Drake or The Weeknd, they give up maybe 20-30 on the rev share. But I think it's a no-brainer. I actually don't know how big. I mean, let's be honest. It should be huge for NIA. Like, enough people aren't listening. Like, if you're an English speaker and you're not listening to NIA, like, what are you even doing?
That's true.
With your life? So,
really,
like,
they must be the people asking for the help on the bike. Same people.
The Venn diagram of people not listening to NIA and the people that need help, like adjusting the seat height, it's 100%. That's
exactly.
you. All right. So, that's a good news piece, man. This has been hype, boys. I don't remember being this hype on an app. This is great.
I was gonna say the was kind of the sailor point, but there's a Navalism too. The best person in the world gets to do it for everyone. And previously there was a language barrier involved in that exchange or that transaction or that service, right? And if this stuff does live up to, it's hard for me to judge because I only speak English. I'm a pleb. So I'm not going to be able to compare and contrast the before and after. But if the listening experience is, if the banter of NIA is translated into every language in the world,
that's it. Game changer. That's it.
Dude,
That's it.
Power
laws.
But you have to say comedy, not that we are comedians, but the laughter, comedy, jokes.
Very culturally niche.
That might be the last 5%, you know what I mean? Because there's so much of it is about saying the exact right word with timing.
Yeah, imagine like if you change a word in Spanish.
In Spanish, can you imagine that?
Well, he is half Venezuelan, right? Is he half Venezuelan?
Yeah, or Nicaragua.
Okay, Nicaraguan. Yeah, where my I'm not gonna say it, but you guys.
That's what he said before you get cancelled. Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me say something though.
Sorry, I have to say you had the fear in your eyes as you realize what you're about to say there.
I can't say, guys. I can't say it because that will be misconstrued, and you just see the fear in my eyes. But let me say one thing. I agree with Bilal. Comedy is very difficult to transport across cultures. This is why actually low-budget comedies do not do well as low-budget horror, right? Horror, that shit works everywhere, man. The Ring, that shit is scary no matter what the language is, all right? I'll tell you what else. Here's another thing, though. Comedy is hard to transport along cultures. I'll tell you one comedy bit that works in every culture. If you don't know how to adjust the seat of your bike seat, you're a fucking idiot.
That's simple enough in Spanish.
Yeah.
There you go.
Listen, whatever language that is, that joke is hidden. So, man, we're on fire right now, boys.
Trung's so wide. Yeah, Trung, did you actually do any burpees today?
Oh, I did 100 burpees. Yeah, legit.
You actually did 100?
Yeah, but this is lazy ones. You know, not the ones where you do the push-ups, but like
that's a lot. 100's a lot.
You flat. Yeah, but you're doing the one with the flat to the ground. Like if I do 50, I'll do the proper push-up ones. But I go 100, I'm gonna cheat a bit.
Do you know what? It reminds me on TikTok. One of my favorite accounts right now is a guy in the middle of the street, and he just stop. You know those stop people in the street TikToks or YouTube or whatever. He stops people and he goes, "You look jacked. What do you do to work out?" And it's a brilliant piece of like social engineering here, because it's like if you tell someone, "Oh, you look so fit, you're so jacked," like who doesn't want to stop and be like, "Oh, I'll tell you how many push-ups I could do." And then one guy was like, "I could do 120 pull-ups," and he goes, "I'll bet my life you can't do 120 pull-ups right now," and he makes him go, and he goes to like some scaffolding and he does about 12, which is still pretty good, because like anything above 20 is crazy. But dude, pretty funny.
Have you guys seen Vitaly? He did the original, right? Do you even work out, bro?
Oh, that's incredible.
Dude,
yeah, the classic.
Okay, I know he got canceled, but I'm just saying, those early Vitaly bits, like, first of all, he dressed up as freaking Jason from Friday the 13th with a chainsaw. This motherfucker was chasing people with a chainsaw for YouTube clicks, all right? So, but his whole bit about do you even work out, bro, is one of the greatest.
Became culture, right? Yeah. But that's one of the best things. I always judge like comedy or something like on how many things become part of general life. Yeah. Like you'll reference it, you know what I mean?
Do you
like
even work out, bro? Everyone knows
work out, or there's a few Chris Rock ones which I can't say on the pod, but just
also
you'll be like, oh yeah, there you go.
But you were less scared than me with the Theo Von word, which we're not going to mention. You people listening, you can Google that, all right?
Yeah.
I got a wife and kid, man. I can't get canceled, all right, people?
Talking again cancelled. Let's get back to the agenda. Here we go. So end of the writer's strike. Good chat on AI, boys. I think we did well there.
Great chat. They canceled the writers.
that was good. There we go. The writer's strike is over. And talking again cancelled. So there's that, and also Netflix retires DVDs. They cancelled.
Yeah, this is perfect.
The DVDs. My God, Jesus,
boys.
Wow, I'm really on a roll here.
Right now. Keep going. All right,
let's do those two together. I'm pretty sure my missus, her parents in California, were Netflix DVD subscribers until whenever they canceled
that generation. Well, this week, this is the end, people.
But actually, let's talk about it up front, because I think this is a good throwback for all of us. Going to the Blockbuster or the off-key brand. Do you remember the one closest to you? Like, Jack, was there one near you where you live? Where were you, in
10
Swindon?
blocks away from me.
Yeah. It wasn't a Blockbuster. It was like,
what was it called? Like some,
I don't know,
DVDs for you.
Pat's videos or
Universe.
Something. Yeah.
Video Universe.
Yeah, Video Universe. Yeah, and then they got the back area if you're 12-year-old.
Where the curtain is, right?
There we go.
You accidentally stumble in there and. It's like you see your dentist there.
There we go. So yeah, came out the little 12-year-old Trung jumping in there.
I'll tell you what I mean, dude. I was rolling into like London Drugs is like a pharmacy. They used to have Playboys on the bottom racks. Huge mistake, man. I was just like, I'm like, listen.
He's just staring.
No. I mean, listen, it's there. All right.
That's what it's there for.
Proprietor. I am not the proprietor, okay? I'm not the one that's responsible for this. But no, like Blockbuster game, I had one 10 blocks away from me. Shout out to 38th and Arbutus Blockbuster. I used to go hit. Let me ask you this, Bilal. You're the child, a son of an immigrant. How much video rental was the parenting game? My parents literally just like, this is how we socialize them. Take them to Blockbuster to get 5 movies. Watch 5 movies a weekend. That's how they.
Mine was we were a little poor back then, so we would download illegally. But it was also like, there was still someone selling the fake bootleg DVDs.
Oh, that was huge in
Vietnam. Because otherwise it was a bit, and I'm pretty sure pretty young. I just remember, the CD case where you open the zip and you just have like all the CDs. I had that, and so my brother they would download it off, Kazaa or whatever. And so
there's always one uncle that has like 5 of those cases, right?
Uncle
and then
Mustafa.
when you borrow it, and he gets mad at you. He's like, hey, listen, you can borrow 2, but I want these back next week, right?
It's like
that. I had an uncle like that.
And then they accidentally give you the wrong one, and then you never give that one back because it was from the back area of the Blockbuster. But no, there was also chipping. Did you guys chip your PlayStations? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
To play the illegal shit.
Yeah, and we would go to Pakistan.
Codes.
Yeah, and you'd buy like every game for like £1, 100 rupees, and you come back, and then Mustafa was the guy in Walthamstow Market. You'd go to him. He had a little apartment a flat.
Chip the PlayStation
upstairs.
for you.
Chip
I
it
don't
for
know if
you.
you guys know this, but the
Incredible.
PlayStation was so
jailbreak
powerful.
your phone, but
jailbreak the phone. No, quick thought about the PlayStation. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the PlayStation was so powerful when it came out that people wanted the US to put I love how
Trung gets that fun fact fan in there.
Yeah,
there you go.
No, it was so powerful that
trivia.
if Japan was able to ship this to the Middle East, to Pakistan, they could use it for nuclear guidance missiles. And they're like, that's how powerful it was versus the chip at the. So, anyways, man, not shocking, right? It's the gaming industry. But back to
let's talk about the right track. Trung, you're our resident
but let's
Hollywood
finish DVDs,
writer. All right, go
Netflix
on.
DVDs is ending.
Yep.
This week. So I have to ask you guys, when's the last time you guys forget Blockbuster? So we know Netflix took out Blockbuster, right? What was the biggest problem with Blockbuster? Their stupid late fees. And they used to hit people with late fees. So Blockbuster, the Netflix is like, easy. We'll ship it to you, no late fees. The easiest counter positioning ever, right? How do you roll? You get the most annoying thing somebody does, the least customer-friendly thing. You do the complete opposite of it. So, and they realize, hey, we have the internet. So I've asked you guys, do you guys ever actually order Netflix DVDs? I don't actually remember doing it.
No, I never did.
Maybe like when there was a free trial back when it first happened.
I did it with Love Film,
back.
which was the UK version, I think, equivalent of that. But I
Okay.
was in the UK, so there wasn't Netflix in the UK. In fact, I was on the team that helped launch Netflix in the UK on the affiliate side randomly. But that I remember
What
that
company
was
were
in,
you
like,
working for?
I was still at Google, but it was a Google
Okay, I was just
affiliate
making-
network, which
What
was
company
quite funny.
were you-
Yeah, no.
I wanted you to say it.
There you go. So I was so earnest in my response. I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, it was Google. But
I remember when that came, because I remember coming to the States, seeing my uncle with Netflix in Queens, and being like, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, how does this work? And like, how does this even stream that fast? Like it's in HD. It just didn't make sense to me. And then it was actually fairly, I think it was like 2012 2012, I think it launched in Europe. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I don't think it was there before.
Can you actually pull up, we don't have to play the audio. If you go to my second top tweet, sorry for asking you this, I showed the machine that they invented. It's called an automated rental return machine. So I'll give you guys a little bit of fun fact fan on this. So DVD business blows up, right? They get up to 20 million subscribers, make $1 billion a year shipping DVDs. And this is the machine they had to invent. Look at that thing. So before this machine, the average person, the GigaPress, before the machine, the average person could open up 600 DVDs. Man, last year Jack was talking about the Card Factory. How grim is it to open 600 DVD things an hour?
Fingers would
Think
be
about
bugged,
that,
man. That'd
Your
be crazy.
fingers, bro. So this machine does 6 times it, 3,500. It has according to New York Times, the precision of a Swiss watch manufacturer. So it got no discs wrong. It spotted defects, perfectly sorted the discs, but obviously this led to job loss because they bought 200 of these machines. And They had 50 people, only had 50 people building this business that served 20 million subscribers and shipped at its peak 1.5 million DVDs a week. Lifetime shipping is 5 billion DVDs. But as we all know, in one of the greatest business pivots ever, Reed Hastings, who was an internet entrepreneur before he started Netflix, it was a physical business. He knew in the late 90s that streaming was coming. Just the technology there, the build of broadband infrastructure wasn't there, but he knew it was coming. So they disrupted themselves. They went straight to streaming. And over the past decade, the business has gone from $1 billion a year to 100 million, which still blows people's minds. I put that thread up and people are like, Netflix made 150 mil on their DVD business last year. So
great. What, in 2022 they made that?
2022.
Wow. That's crazy.
Like, oh, it's crazy, dude. And so Redbox, which does the vending machine DVD sales, they tried to buy Netflix DVD business like half a dozen times. Netflix like, yeah, fuck it. We're not going to give these guys any more mind share. Like, if you want videos, go to streaming. But we're shutting it down officially this week. People are quite sad. Bilal, you mentioned your parents delivered DVDs. A lot of like older cats are doing that. And here's the reality though. The selection on Netflix kind of sucks, if we're being honest. The DVD selection, is 100,000 DVDs, dude. The Netflix movie selection, they don't actually say, but people think it's 10% of that, 5 to 10,000. So like the
archives and stuff too.
There is something culturally that's actually being hit here. It's not just like, is
that a different licensing deal too? Because it's
very different.
You
it's
negotiate
very
differently with a studio, right? You could just buy those things and lend them out.
Because no one else is competing on DVDs, so they can. They can just own that, but I'm assuming versus like HBO, everyone's fighting for the same stuff on the other side.
And they're not, or maybe they are, but they're like, it feels like once one's in circulation, it stays in circulation versus the streaming where you do a deal to show this movie for 2 months in this region for Netflix subscribers versus you buy the inventory and then you loan it out 4 times and it's just pure upside after that over and over and over and over.
It's actually the DVD thing. People brought up a good point though in the replies. They're like, listen, this is like 0.5% of their business. It's just not even worth it for them. But sadly, culturally, and we're gonna get into it now. Bilal, tee up the writer's strike. Can you give us some details of what happened?
I don't know anything about writer's strike apart from that ended. So yeah.
Good thing I did 100 burpees because I'm wired right now.
Yeah.
So people, as mentioned, there's a dual strike going on with the producers in Hollywood. So that's all the major studios. So what's crazy about this strike that we have talked about is you had like Bob Iger, Ted Sarandos from Netflix. You had David Zaslav from Warner Brothers. They're all on conference calls. Like I just love the idea that these guys are trying to end it because those are all the hitters, right? And I don't love it. Like people don't think I'm trying to support them. Don't think I'm like crossing the picket lines here. But there are 3 main points about this strike. They called it the Netflix strike, right? Because one of the biggest points that people are complaining about, the actors are also on strike and they're also complaining about Netflix, is Netflix streaming, as Jack kind of alluded to, is a black box on metrics. Listen, DVDs, very simple metrics. How many times did this DVD turn, right? It's pretty simple. How many times people rent this DVD?
There's still only one royalty transaction on the DVD, right?
Right. That's the thing. You do that transaction. How many times did this thing get purchased, or like how many people purchased it, period, right? So, but it's very clear. It's so clear cut what that is. Streaming, very different. For Netflix, you have to remember, Netflix releases content for 3 reasons. A, they release it to get new subscribers. B, they release it to stop churn. And 3, they release it to maybe upgrade people from the levels. So there's many reasons why a piece of content is released or brought onto the platform. So like, you might bring on a show like Drive to Survive, and no one in the house may even watch it. They may even subscribe because like there are people at work telling them, hey, you have to watch this. But like they actually never even watch it, but they'll watch something else on the platform. So how do you ascribe that unit of content? You know what I mean? It's like, it is actually kind of tricky. They say it's black boxy, but also to their benefit because they get to do their business model where they pay people a shit ton of money up front, but zero upside. Like Jerry Seinfeld making $100 million a year or $50 million a year from Seinfeld because of syndication on cable. That's never happening anymore. And again, like we talked about, Jack kind of mentioned, it's like, that's a simple. Syndication is so simple, right? How many stations around North America are paying us X amount for this, right? That's a done deal. So they call this a Netflix strike because every time there's a big transition in media consumption. So the last one that this happened on was just things going online. And that was the last strike, was 2008. And they're asking is like, what, they never resolved it. They're basically saying, what do we get from streaming? So this actually kind of resolved it. So that was the first main point. Can we get a piece of this metric pie? So it sounds like the studios have actually are
meaning what you want to be more transparent about.
Exactly. They're going to agree to some level of transparency, but like frankly, it'll probably still be pretty opaque. But at least they're acknowledging that it's transparent. Like it needs to be more transparent. The other two pieces of the puzzle, which we did talk about, is like the writers want to deal with AI, right? So it sounds like where they've gone with AI is the studios are allowed to experiment with AI, but every show or movie has to be credited to a human. So if that means an AI writes an entire script, a human still has to be in the loop. So they get financial benefit. To your point. It's like, if they're, dude, imagine AI, you're cutting AI and then hey, we have a transparent attribution model now, but now we're accrediting that to the AI, right? And then the last thing they did was a big thing in Hollywood is called writers' rooms. So for these TV shows is you get, whatever. Daily Show might have 15 writers. A Succession might have 10 writers. But what the writers wanted, they wanted a minimum number of writers on every show. It's a jobs program, essentially. I don't know. That might be the most, so basically the writers are coming out saying they got basically everything they wanted. So it looks like this 5-month strike was quite beneficial to them. But
do they agree to the terms for a period of time, or just indefinitely, or that's like how we're going to do it for now?
I think the agreement, the agreement will be for now. I'm sure there's some agreement how long, but the next technology change, I'm sure it'll be AI related. They might just strike again.
Well, I think it might also be. Don't you think there's a chance that it could be distribution related? Like, I think at the one thing stopping this now is like, I'm always curious, why does YouTube not have some of that activity? Like if I'm HBO, I'm like, all right, we're just going to distribute through YouTube exclusively. HBO is never going to do that, but like an up and coming production studio, X, YouTube, whatever, if you like disintermediate the permission level at the studio, those platforms have built-in transparency, like Spotify. You can't, if you're a musician, how many times people listen to your music. We know how many people listen to this every week, and we don't have to rely on the studio to report that.
Way less than it should be.
Right, exactly. Millions less than it should be. We're about to go on strike for 5 months, actually, to rectify.
Yo, if you listeners, listen, I know we got listeners. If you're not telling your friend, if you're not dropping our links in your WhatsApp chat, be like, yo, this is the funniest shit I've ever listened to. Yeah, what are you even doing? But no, Jack, you're right. Is a very interesting thing about this, to address your point directly, is this. Who will be the biggest players in these media ecosystems
to go round this way of doing things?
Apple,
right?
Amazon, and YouTube, right? Guess what? Apple and Amazon, they're not part of these freaking producer guilds, right? So like this agreement, here's the larger picture. Like take the combined market cap of Netflix, Warner Brothers, all the other studios is like $200 billion. That's 10% of Apple. You know what I mean? So like that's the biggest, you nailed it. That's the biggest elephant in the room.
So Apple was Apple affected by the strikes? Yeah,
they have to agree to like the writers can't write for Apple, like they can't create new content for them basically, because they would be in contravention of their agreement to the guild. Like I'm sure Apple's been involved but Apple itself is not part of the producers guild that I talked about with like Warner Brothers, Disney, and Netflix.
But they just pull from the same talent pool, basically.
Yeah. So like they're involved, but like tangentially, and obviously for them, they care that more content gets made. So I'm sure like they're like calling in and stuff like that.
Right.
But the actor strike is still going on. They want the sticking point for them. They want 2% guaranteed of every production they do. But it goes back to what is 2% of what? Like what are we talking about? This metric is so unclear. So yeah, streaming is this is a takeaway we talked about a couple weeks ago. Is like Disney going all in on streaming is probably the best example here, because they destroyed the greatest business model ever, which was cable. like cable TV, where you have all your networks, all your channels, and you force these cable providers to buy all your shitty little channels, and then you get paid carriage fees on them. Like whatever, Disney had Disney Kids and like Nat Geo, like FX, and like wait, some of them are good, but you're paying for all of them. Like Disney's like, if you don't take this, you don't get ESPN, right? But now they went all on top on streaming. They underpriced themselves, to be honest, because now they keep raising prices. They look like asshats. But yeah, listen, man. Jack knows this. Distribution wins. Distribution took out text. Distribution's fucking with music. Distribution is coming for the next level of content, right? Which is like directors and filmmaking, and it just changes everything.
How does long form content work on WeChat? Do you know? Is it like is there a Netflix competitor built into that?
That's a great question. You know? I don't know about that.
That feels to me. I don't know. That feels to me like one potential path here is the transparency there, and this is also the use case for real-time payments and settlement networks and all that. The idea that as the content is streamed, the revenue is streamed to the producers of that content.
Oh, like real time.
Yeah, it feels to like, the monthly Stripe payout is the old version of check cashing in the long view of how value is settled in this environment. So like you will post a tweet that gets 10 million views, and the balance of your Twitter account is just going to accrue in real time with that same dopamine rush you're getting from the notifications. There's just going to be this revenue is just forking in all these different directions. And from what I've read about like money as an information system, or the Elon school of thought on money, feels to me like that's the direction, right? They've applied for all these money transmitter licenses, and it feels like that transparency, to Bilal's point a couple of episodes ago, doesn't matter what your opinion of the platform is. When you see that happening, you want to be involved. Like, oh, I'm spending my time creating stuff for this platform, and I'm enriching.
Oh, you mean the football or the European like soccer? Yeah.
Everybody is, if you like, you take screen time in aggregate, like the casual Twitter poster is now probably competing with small movie studios in terms of how much collective screen time they are capturing. Like these big Twitter accounts that like take the Tucker Carlson thing. That's like obviously the pinnacle example. Yeah. That's what 10x the numbers he was getting on Fox.
Yeah, probably more. I think even more. Yeah,
just nuts. And I don't like. It would be very interesting to see how the numbers compare as like just splitting revenue with Twitter versus a TV contract. I'm imagining they don't compare right now, but who knows?
Yeah,
over time.
But that's a great point. I think you both brought up a point, which is kind of the economics of like content online versus the traditional, media models like movies, TV shows, etc. And that's kind of just been a slow progression. And the way I would see it, the summary of it is they were potentially being overpaid, or they now are being overpaid for essentially what funds it, which is ads. And in movie cases, people going to pay $15, $20 in a movie theater, right? Versus like a YouTuber, let's say, for a long time has been underpaid in air quotes, because it just takes time for that to kind of come down. Like the equivalent of a CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions or whatever, they're getting paid like $15 on YouTube and $1 on TikTok. And TV shows might be 1,000 or 50 or 100. I don't know the number.
And so it's kind of a nutty difference.
Yeah, and you're paying a premium as an advertiser or whoever for the TV because you are used to paying that. And then when you've come to the internet, there's new models and there's skippable things, and it's not exactly the same.
Yeah, right.
And there's also just been this supply and demand thing of just 10 years ago, no one was buying ads on YouTube. Right. And now every big brand in the world uses YouTube as an extension for TV or a replacement. And that has taken like 10, 15 years. So they can afford to pay the $15 CPM, which is way more than everyone else. And so it's just kind of, I think a lot of this is the economics of things have changed. And similar like Spotify, we talked about, like the economics of it were before, where people bought CDs and they paid 10, 15 pounds or dollars for a CD. And then like the average like revenue per user essentially has changed dramatically from that to Spotify. Where
CDs were the like the cable bundle.
Exactly.
The CD collection was one of the greatest units of revenue for a musician ever, right? It might be the peak. And no, dude, you nailed it, man. Is like the changing business model. Cable and CD, incredible business model. Guess what? Newspapers, a local monopoly. Yeah. Incredible business model. This is changing, boys. That's why in 10 years, when we're still doing this, that money's coming. That money's coming to daddy, right?
Well,
that's where that money's coming.
The other parallel from a couple episodes ago, the factory is the product. You could talk about that with the platform too. Like you build the platform to be able to capture and broadcast as much value as possible, right? The movie studio is capped at what it can produce. It's capped by how many executives it employs, how many people go out and have relationships and work on this and introduce this person to this person. It's a much longer game to build something that ultimately starts out with a lot of shit quality stuff because you don't moderate every decision that gets made, but you also have access to billions of eyeballs every single day. And it's like training itself in real time versus to Bilal's point, I'm going to buy a TV ad on this channel because I've seen a PDF 5 years ago that said people over 40 watch this channel versus I'm going to buy this thing in the middle of this video because you know exactly who's watching that video.
Yeah, perfect analogy I got for you here. You guys remember 2020, start of COVID, what 2 short form video things took off or tried to? One was Quibi, one was TikTok. Quibi is what you described.
Right.
It's the old school economy. Let's get the greatest producer of the 90s and Meg Whitman, who ran HP and eBay. We're going to top down it. We're going to take our time, make content super nice, 7 minutes, quick bites. TikTok. Fucking 100 million idiots uploading everything every second. And then, wait, I mean, not all of them are idiots. I mean,
it was the market decided. The market decided what was interesting.
The market decided, right?
More consistent with the principles. And now you got people
being like dressed up as a kitty in the middle of the street.
Brother. That's it. Quibi versus TikTok is the perfect explanation of what's happening in every media format.
Yeah.
In everything, really almost. It's a great comparison of legacy and just like ground up. Just let the crowd decide, and they will go absolutely mental in the process, but they figure out what they like.
Have you seen some of the most insane trends on TikTok, people? You know the crowd will figure it out. That emergent property. When was the last time you thought about the Roman Empire?
Yeah, exactly. Like those single memes that emerge from those networks are like competitive mindshare wise with
Avatar
10 season like TV shows or movies
100%.
Incredible. The density of the memes.
There we go. Well, the last thing I'll say, because we should wrap it up in a second, is it's a bigger philosophical question, which is we talk about what the market decides in terms of content specifically. And I'm a big fan of that because I think that's given room for lots of people to create all this amazing, legit, real content that, you know, all of us are part of that.
Idiots, people.
No, but I mean,
idiot,
you know what I mean? No, but there's like these micro things, even the entertainment stuff, right? Like even if it is someone live streaming, for whatever reason, people are like watching them for 17 hours, saying thanks, kitty, meow, like all that random crap, right? But that is, in a way, like that's what people are following, and that's if they want to watch that, it's up to them to decide. The other question, though, is like when you then have to start creating content for the algorithm, and I'll shout out our boy Zaid. I just had him on Creator Lab.
Listen, great episode.
Thanks, man. Thanks for listening to it. I had him on. Admani Explains on TikTok. He's got, I think, 500,000 followers on there. And we basically had a discussion around if the Mr. Beastification of content is like spoiling YouTube. Obviously, it's a little bit of a headline to say he's ruining YouTube, which he isn't the first one to say that. But the idea of like this hyper, have to change every frame, have to always care about retention versus just creating art for art's sake if you see it as art. Like if you're a filmmaker, you're not saying I need to do this for retention for YouTube algorithm. You're saying, oh, what's the best shot? What's the best story? And personally, I want both of those things in the world. You know,
but I guess that's what a movie studio does, right? It's like they make the money on the stupid or the like mass market stuff, and they allocate capital to make the artful stuff that they know is not going to like produce like the same financial outcome.
A commercial versus the theater show. If you're an actor, it's like you're going to make the money from selling paintbrushes or whatever, but you're going to get the satisfaction of acting 6 nights in a row at the Soho Theater or whatever. So yeah, it's a different
very interesting. Like when we used to work in the ad world, like the clients that pay you the money are not the ones that you put on the front page of the website, right? It's like you're churning out banner ads.
Utility.
Yeah.
British, what was it, British Energy, or what's the one you guys talked about?
We did Verizon for a long time. It was like 10,000 different banner ads for Verizon, which is like a huge contract. And then you got like the Italian supercar brand that you're like, yeah, this is how we operate. This is how we make money. It's
and
like
the cool ones often make the least money. Yeah, exactly.
You lose money on it. It's
you just want to put them up.
Yeah,
completely. All right, boys, I think we can wrap it up there. Trung, if it's all right, we'll save the Apple thing for next time because we're gonna.
Yeah, we don't have to. We're done. Yeah, we're done.
But that was great. Great conversation. Appreciate you guys. That was a fun episode. We'll see you guys next week for an AMA episode, which Trung will not be in San Francisco. He might be in another location by that point.
Location, people.
By the time he's recording that second one.
Could all right,
anywhere. And we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate you. Cheers. Bye-bye.